Thank you all for being here. On behalf of the staff of the BOA, thank you also for making us as nervous as possible. When we arrived here, there was nobody here. You all arrived at one time. We're sure it's a conspiracy. But I'm grateful that Kristen is very calm. She didn't panic in the midst of it all. The worst thing to happen is to throw a party and nobody comes. So today we are grateful for your presence as we continue what we hope will be a tradition in Boston. And that is assessing where we are educationally, not on the basis of the latest newspaper report, good or bad, more often than not, bad, but really taking as a community a hard look at the data that can inform us about what needs to be done, where we're succeeding, and how we can work together to address the gaps. This day would not be possible were it not for a number of people who I want to take a moment to acknowledge. I want to begin by, and if they would like, they should feel free to just lift their hand or even stand up. One of the people who was a founder, along with Myra Kraft and a few other people, of the very idea of the Boston Opportunity Agenda, and that's Robert Beal from Beal and Company. Where's Bob? I just want to say thank you. He's been with us literally from the beginning. As part of that panel that constitutes the Boston Opportunity Agenda, I want to thank Debbie Rambo from Catholic Charities, Barry Schrade from Combined Jewish Philanthropies, Ann Douglas and Ed Lambert, who are representing Chancellor Keith Motley in UMass, Ron Dorsey from the City of Boston, Carly Osceola from United Way of Mass Bay, Superintendent Tommy Chang, who wears many hats but is the representative of BPS as a part of BOA as well. And so we are deeply thankful to them for their work day in and day out. If they would all stand just for a moment, and let's give them a round of applause. We're also grateful to have with us, representing the school committee, Chairman Michael O'Neill and committee member Geraldine Robinson. We asked if they would just stand for a moment. And we, of course, are deeply grateful for this fabulous space. It's my first time being here. We understand it's the third time. The mayor will have been here in the past 2 weeks, so he is well familiar with it. But representing Bank of America, we are grateful to have Alicia Verity, and she's standing there in the back, Senior Vice President for Corporate Responsibility. Can we just give her, and on behalf of all of us, to B of A round of thanks. All right, let's launch into it. And as you will hear, and I don't want to be a spoiler, you're going to discover that as we begin to look through the data, a lot of different themes will emerge, but one of them will be a real commitment, concern, call to action around the issue of universal quality pre-K education. And it's very fitting that we would call to the podium at this time a mayor who, along with this issue and many others in the realm of education, has addressed them as a priority. The mayor is well known to most of us, I think no stranger at all, as someone who really cares deeply. It's a reflective of his own story and his own experience, and who I think sees this office as an opportunity to pass on to others some of the grace that's been poured into his own life. And so, let me ask if you would join me in welcoming the mayor of the city of Boston, Martin Walsh, as he comes to address us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sorry about losing the video. I'll get it up after. I want to thank you, Reverend Hammond, and thank you for not just being here today, but what you do in our city every single day. Reverend Hammond's a big piece of the importance of our city and moving our city forward, so thank you. I want to thank Kristen McSwain as well for her great work, and we're going to hear from Kristen a little bit. I want to thank all of the educators in the room, all of the leaders of education in the room, all of the philanthropists of education in the room, anything you do with education in the room, thank you very much for being here. It's an honor for me to be here. I also want to recognize Michael O'Neill, the chairman of the Boston School Committee, for his great work and really putting together a real strong budget here for the upcoming year in the Boston Public Schools. Ron Dorsey, the Chief of Education for the City of Boston. I want to thank Ron as well for his great work. Superintendent Tommy Chang, I know is going to be on a panel a little bit. He's over here. I want to thank the superintendent for his great work. And really, I could probably name almost every single person in this room, but I want to thank you. But most importantly, I want to thank the schools that are here. When I say the schools, the different types of schools that are educating our kids in the city of Boston, whether you're a Boston Public School, whether you're a charter school, whether you're a Catholic school, whether you're an independent private school, I want to thank you all because as we move forward in conversations on education moving to the forefront, it's not about who's better, who delivers it more, how do we do this and competing with one another. And I've said it several times now, we have to stop that. And I know it doesn't really happen in this room, but we have to stop the going after each other in schools. I don't care how a child gets educated and gets to college. I honestly don't. I want that child to be successful. I want that young person to be able to get an education on a pathway to college or career and to be successful and be able to live in our city, get a job in our city, have a family in our city, raise their kids in our city, or wherever they want to go. And that's what I think is really important for all of us here. Today's report shows our partnership, the efforts of our teachers and our students, producing results and improving our schools. The report shows that high school graduation is up by at least 5% in all three types of schools, which are all-time highs. That's a celebration. But we also know there's more work to do, that we need to continue to move forward because not all of our kids that go into 9th grade are getting to that point, and that has to be our goal. It shows college enrollment is close to the national average, not just for urban schools, but for all of our schools. It shows that all types of schools using data improves teaching and learning, and that's something that I think that is very, very important, and we see it more and more in the city every single day, not just with education, but with everything we do. Data improves results, because data shows us where there are holes. Data shows us where there's need for improvement. Data shows us where there's need for investment. Data shows us where we can correct the mistakes or the problems or the wrong directions that we're going in different areas. It shows a citywide focus on college and career readiness. We had a meeting the other day at Bloomberg with Jeff Immelt from GE. And there was all the business leaders from a lot of the business leaders from Boston, not all. And there was president of MIT was there, president of Harvard was there. We were talking about college, and they were talking about MIT and Harvard and BC and BU. And I said, wait a second. The issue, you don't have a problem because you pick from schools, and you're always going to be able to pick from schools that have kids prepared to go to your institutions. Where our problem is making sure that we get all of our kids on a pathway to college or career. And talked about universal pre-K and the importance of it. So we need to work together to do better for our kids. We see it in summer learning. We see it in Success Boston. We see it in the new Birth to 8 collaboration. So for those who say there is no collaborations, or those who are suspicious about collaborations between different types of schools, I said we're already collaborating. We're having conversations. We're talking about how do we move forward. We're talking about making sure that our students have positive impacts. That we talk about how we need to do more for our students. We talk about it because we need to make sure that every young person in our systems plural, can hit their potential. So we're going to continue to look at student performance and every form of equity through a citywide lens. If anyone asks why this report shows plenty of room for improvement, as I said in my State of the City, the gaps come in the shapes of race, class, language, and special needs. And we need to continue to move forward. Those are also troubling in forms of inequity. But they also offer us specific challenges and ways to move forward. And they also call us to deepen our partnership. That's how we approach closing the opportunity gaps in the Boston Public Schools. In 3 years, we have set 725 more children in high-quality free kindergarten classrooms. In many cases, the partnerships with our community-based organizations, we're working with them as well to make sure that we work collectively together. And I work in partnership with the legislature on a plan to reach universal access. It's a good plan. It's a fair plan. It doesn't talk about raising taxes. It talks about using the money that's paid into the Convention Center Authority by people who come here as tourists in the city of Boston, take $16 million. It's a simple solution. Put it over to the school department, and we can provide free, universal, high-quality 4-year-olds kindergarten for every single 4-year-old in our city. And we can do it in a way that our nonprofit partners, our charter schools, our parochial schools, our public schools can all benefit from. It's not about a money grab for the Boston School Department. It's about a way for us to work collectively across the board. We've extended the day, giving kindergartners to 8th grade students 120 more hours of learning, an equivalent of adding 20 days per year. When I ran for mayor of Boston, that was the biggest issue we talked about. Every forum we went to, people said Boston has the shortest school day. And I said, and other people said, if we got elected mayor of the city of Boston, we wouldn't have the shortest school day. And we're able to do that in 3 years, to be able to get that implemented in all our schools. The partnership, it was a partnership to get there. It was a partnership with our principals, it was a partnership with our teachers, it was a partnership with our teachers union to sit down and talk about that. And when we started, the reason why it happened is because we all had the same understanding why it's important to move forward in doing that from the very beginning. That's why it happened. And I think that we have to celebrate that. This year we're going to complete the $73 million Dearborn STEM Academy in Roxbury, our first new high school in Boston in a long time. We have a partnership with the Mass School Building Authority. We're using more and more opportunity to build relationships with the Mass School Building Authority. We're going to grow this partnership and unlock $1 billion of new investment in our schools over the next 10 years. When I talk about that, that wasn't a figure I threw up against the wall saying we're going to get $1 billion. We have $700 million in our capital set aside for that, and we're going to work with the School Building Authority to get another $300 million over a 10-year period. If you look at what we've done in the last year and a half with the School Building Authority, we're going to see that number is going to be achieved. We got free college tuition for BPS graduates, and we partner with Bunker Hill Community College, Mass Bay Community Colleges, Roxbury Community Colleges. And we're also helping young people with wraparound service, so we're not just sending them on their way out the front door of the high school and saying, good luck, we get you in the college. We're working with them to make sure that they complete their college. And we're working with schools like Boston University that says, okay, once they get their 2 years done, or 3 years done, you have to do it in 3 years, you have an opportunity to go to college after that and have less than $15,000 in debt. We're working with colleges to make sure that we continue to create a pipeline. I could have used that, by the way. Because when I graduated high school, I went to Quincy Junior College. I went there for a year, and I realized that I could do the work, and I got into Suffolk University. And because I didn't have somebody wrap around, I had my parents, but they didn't go to college. So I had nobody kind of walking me through the system. So I thought it was a brilliant idea after one semester at Suffolk University to drop out and go work construction. And nearly a decade later, it took me to get back to college. So I ended up getting to college, but my path wasn't a straight line. There are many students that don't have the opportunity I had. When I left college, I had an opportunity to work in the trades. I had a father who was in the trades. I had an uncle who ran a union in Boston. So I had an opportunity to get in the trades. A lot of our kids that drop out of school don't have that same opportunity to find a career that they could go in and earn a living. So we have to continue to make sure that we work with the wraparound services. We're also going to continue. Last night, the school department unveiled their school budget. A $40 million increase, actually I think it's $43 million increase, to impact areas like extended learning time, services for homeless students, vocational programs, careers in medicine, technology, business, criminal justice, public safety. It adds another 100 pre-kindergarten seats. It starts establishing our infrastructure for universal pre-K that Ron has been working on and Tommy Chang has been working on. It's a total budget of $1,061 million plus $20 million in reserve for collective bargaining as we continue to move forward with our collective bargaining negotiation with the teachers union. That will make an increase of $143 million in our system over the last 3 years. No one can say we are shortchanging the Boston Public School District. I also filed legislation, as I talked about, that would help both district and charter schools. And the reason why I did that is because when question 2 came out, I ultimately came out against question 2. My coming out against question 2 wasn't coming out against charter schools. And I was very clear about that. My coming out against question 2 was felt that it was too aggressive, the cap lift, and it was going to be too damaging to Boston and other districts. That's why I filed legislation to support charter schools on this school building. And some people don't like it. Some people probably don't like it. But it's about how do we continue to move our school districts forward together. We're committed in Boston for excellence for all students. Obviously, as mayor of the city of Boston, my primary responsibility is to make sure that our Boston Public Schools are great. But I also have a fond love for our charter schools and our parochial schools. Because the school that I went to as a grammar school student, the principal, who was not the principal back then, is here today. I want to thank her. It's important for us. We just need to continue to build trust. We need to collectively move together. There are young people that are going to talk here today. They're going to talk about their experiences. The reason why we need to continue to do what we're doing is for the young people of our city and our Commonwealth to make sure that we have the best education system in the country. When I talk about graduation rates, it's great to say we're going in the right direction. We want to continue to go in the right direction, but we're not going in the right direction for all. It's great to say that we have universal pre-K in the city. We want to get universal pre-K, and we added 700 seats, but there's many kids out in the neighborhoods that don't have that opportunity. It's great to say that we're making investments in our schools, and we are making investments in our schools, but yet we still have challenges. So we're going to continue to move forward. We're going to continue to move forward with the Boston Compact. We're going to continue to move forward that we don't have the status quo in our city. We're going to continue to carry our message around the city of Boston, why it's important for education. The last thing I'll say, and it's not part of these notes, is that I've been mayor for 3 years, and I look around and I think about all the challenges, and Reverend Hammond understands this, what I'm about to say. We think about how we move our city forward. And too often, I start my morning every morning with a phone call from Commissioner Evans, and we talk about what happened the night before. And last year in the city of Boston, we had 45 homicides. The year before, we had a 16-year low, 35 homicides. This year, we have had 3 so far this year. If we continue at the pace we're at, we'll have one of the all-time lows in homicides. And that's a nice stat to say. We have crime. We had a shooting yesterday that happened at one of our schools. We were lucky that no one got hurt. We had 2 15-year-olds. One was involved with a gun, 15-year-olds. 15-year-old. The gun weighed almost more than he did. It was in his backpack, in our school department. When I think about issues like this, and I think about income inequality, and I think about violence, and I think about poverty, and I think about all the challenges that we're facing in this city, in this country, and we think about how do we fix that, so we created the Office of Public Safety. We made an investment in Operation Exit. We're making investment in trauma counselors. We're making investment in making sure that we have more homeless services. The clergy's making investments in doing peace walks with us. We have philanthropists and funders in this room that are making investments in different programs about how we reduce violence in the city, how do we stop the or how do we get a prison to career pipeline going. All of that stuff's all great stuff. But we have an opportunity to end all that in the beginning of the story. And the beginning of the story is education. And if we provide education, good, strong, quality education with the services that young people need, many of the schools I'm looking at today, whether it's the Curley, whether it's the Boston Collegiate Charter School, whether it's Pope John Paul Academy, Columbia campus, regardless of the school, there's a lot of young people that went to those schools that could have gone down the wrong road, but they didn't. Why? Because they came across a teacher, or they came across a principal, or they came across an opportunity that helped them put them on a pathway to success. That's why we're here today. And I'm not preaching to you, I'm just saying to you, of all the things that we do every single day, and I think about this all day long, the way we stop in the cycle of violence, in the income inequality, in the racism, in the discrimination, in the poverty, is by giving an opportunity for a 4-year-old right now going into DPS, put them on a successful pathway to college or career so that their whole world is in front of them. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here today, and I want to thank Bank of America as well. Michal Chamberlain, I know he couldn't make it here, but for allowing us to use the space today. And from the bottom of my heart, everyone that's in this room, thank you for what you do in the space of education, because we couldn't do it without you. Thank you.
clarion call. And we're going to have some opportunities to talk about how, in fact, we might respond to that. Let me take a moment also to acknowledge two women without whom this event couldn't have been what it is. And one is Adrienne, who's over here from Bank of America, did a phenomenal job on our logistics. And Erin Truex, who's our former intern, and we're never going to let her go. She's now a volunteer for the Boston Opportunity Agenda. Thanks to both of them. Also to Keith Mahoney, who's representing the Boston Foundation this morning. Grateful for your presence as well. And now let me briefly introduce someone who, again, is a stranger to no one here. You have seen her everywhere because she is everywhere, not just around Boston. You might run into her in Aspen, Colorado, talking about Aspen youth. You can run into her in another city around the nation talking about networks and Strive networks and all kinds of work. This is a phenomenal woman. She's just a phenomenal woman. And that's in part because she's both a woman and a mother on a mission. With children in the Boston public schools and the public charter schools, this matters to her deeply. And on behalf of the entire board and staff of the Boston Opportunity Agenda, I want to say thanks, and I hope you will help me in saying thanks to a woman who's making an enormous difference to the city of Boston, Kristen McSwain, the Executive Director of the Boston Opportunity Agenda.
Thank you, Ray. That was a very kind introduction. For those of you who know me well, you know that my moment of panic is over because technology and I are not friends. And so we seem to be on a roll, which is good because I have no idea how to fix it if it doesn't work again. So the first thing we want to talk about today, and I looked to see which slide they moved to the front because someone moved them on me, is how we're doing as a city with all of our young people. And there's some really good news. And then there's some things that we actually really need to think about. And as we go through the slides, I want to point out a couple of things that I think are important to note. When you think about the schools that young people attend in Boston, the majority of our young people go to BPS. We have a lot of young people who are going to Catholic schools. We have a lot of young people who are going to charter schools. But the bulk of them are going to BPS. So when you think about what you learned in math, think way back. 5th grade probably, about ratios and percentages and how you move things. When I talk about some of these as really positive things and things that have moved forward, there's a couple of places where you're going to see some down arrows. And you might be like, Kristen, a down arrow does not mean forward. But when you're talking about a charter school that has a small number of graduates from high school or a small number of young people who are going to college, when 1 or 2 of them doesn't complete, it skews the percentage, right? And so what you're going to see in some of this math is some of the skewing of a percentage because the N, for those of you who took statistics, the N is small. And I just want us to be aware of that because I think when you're looking at just the arrows, it's challenging to understand why a down arrow for a Catholic school or for a charter school is something that I'm saying we're making progress on. So if everybody understands the basics of that, I think we can proceed. Because there's some really great news for young people in the city of Boston in this report. Because ultimately what we want, and I think the mayor really talked about it, is we want our young people who live here and grow up here and go to our schools to be able to be employed here, to live active, engaged, civic lives, and to be a part of the fabric of our city. And so we want them to complete college or to complete some other post-secondary to be able to participate in our economy. So with that said, all of you will have a report when you leave, but right now here's the data. So the first thing I think that is really important to talk about is that we have made progress in college completion. We've got more young people going to college, and we've got more young people completing college. The one thing that I would say about this data is we don't have a complete picture. The Catholic schools are still really working, and Kathy Mears, who's the superintendent and a brand new grandma, otherwise she would be here today, is really looking to figure out how can we tell how many young people who went to a Catholic school are graduating from post-secondary. We know how many graduate from high school, but how many are finishing their degree. So she's working on being able to tell us that number. In the charter schools, as I said, a small dip, but remember, when you look at the number of students, 56 students versus 1,314 students, it doesn't exactly equate. The other thing that I would say is that these are two different years of data. So because of Success Boston, because of the work that is led by the Boston Foundation and UMass Boston, Bunker Hill, the schools, with Tommy Chang sitting in for BPS, and the Federal Reserve Bank by Ken Montgomery, we know more about that class of students. In 2009, what's available publicly for charter schools at DESE is only 2008. So expect to see some changes, hopefully, in our data as we move forward and are able to count more real time how our students are doing. That's our goal. So that's the great news. 10th grade proficiency. For those of you who are real wonks, this is what DESE considers to be your ability to graduate. It means that you did well in language arts, math, and in science. For BPS, those numbers are up 5%, which is a huge shift, and we are really glad to see that. And for the others, again, because of the n size, you've got a couple of drops in percentage point, but when you're talking about 88 to 86 and 94 to 92, stuff to work on there, but really we're looking like we're doing pretty well. 4-year graduation rates. Everyone is graduating more young people from high school. That's really important to know, because when we think about our improvements in college and college completion, we're sending more people out of high school and into college, and more of them are completing. So not only is our percentage going up, but the actual number of young people who are completing is increasing, and that is great. As the mayor said, we have lots of work to do here. They're not completing at the same rates, depending on what you look like. Our young men, I'm sad to say, are not doing as well as our young women are doing, and so we've got a lot to unpack there, but this is really good news. When you look at us as a city and think about who works and whether or not they have a degree or some kind of post-secondary certificate, we're sort of maintaining. And we need this number to go up, particularly for the young people who are going through our public and our Catholic schools, because right now this number is sort of stagnant. So we want to see that move. Now, the not as glowing news, and where we have lots of room to make some improvements. Our kindergarten readiness numbers for the first time have dropped a couple of percentage points. So when you think about what is the intervention that we can do at this moment, and the mayor has provided us an opportunity to do that, is really to increase the number of quality pre-kindergarten seats so that our young people are entering kindergarten ready to be there. That also should help us here. 3rd grade reading. There are a number of folks in this room who've been meeting over the past year and a half to really think about what is Boston's plan for young people from birth to age 8. It covers this entire spectrum. How can we both use the resources that we have more adequate, more efficiently, but more important, how can we make the case for what needs to change in this space, not only for pre-kindergarten, but also in the birth to 3 space, really thinking about how we link the medical and the early education communities to leverage both of them and the knowledge that they have about our young people. So if in the back of the report card there's a section on our Birth to 8 collaborative and the work we're beginning to do, I encourage you to take a look at that, because these are the 2 numbers that we really hope to change. 6th graders proficient in math. This is a new metric. We added it this year because we haven't really focused, since we took out 8th grade algebra a number of years ago, on middle grades math. We're beginning to think in the city of Boston. We've been working with a number of you in the room and others to set a citywide goal for what it means to be college and career ready when you graduate from high school. One of the things we think is going to be on there is middle school math. So this is our proxy at the moment. It's also what the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has just added to their metrics. Dropouts. We're doing really well here. We've got a tiny uptick for the number of young people who are not completing annually from BPS, but we're also at an all-time low for 9th graders who start high school and finish. That work is not complete. We're still losing a large percentage, over 20%, but we've made tremendous improvements. We've got plans in place, and we need to continue to work them in the high schools. Having a goal for young people in terms of what comes after high school is going to help with that. Because a lot of our young people, when they leave, say, you know, it didn't make sense to me to stay. So if we can begin to think about reasons for them to stay and paths for them to see clearly to the future, that is going to help this number move. College enrollment. Again, these numbers are actually very high. And we continue to see young people going at a great rate. The one thing we do know is that you're more likely to complete if you go immediately after you graduate high school. So anything we can do to help close that time for young people, regardless of the kind of institution they choose to attend. A lot of our young people are making great use of our community colleges, and they're experiencing a lot of success. And you're going to hear from a number of them today. But I think you may also feel how they, you may hear how they feel about that when they're in high school as a valid pathway. Are we sending them the right messages to get them to completion when they're in high school? That is the end of our data. I have bored you enough, so I'm going to ask our student panel to come on up and take their seats. And I'm going to ask our facilitator, Dr. Tommy Chang, to come on up. And we're going to hear from our young people what they think would be most helpful to them as they make their journey from high school into post-secondary, what their thoughts are on college and career readiness. So I hope that you will make them feel welcome. Your seat is right there with the handheld mic. You may need to turn that on. There you go.
Thank you, Kristen, so much. This morning, I have the honor of asking questions, not answering questions. Super excited about that opportunity. Just a couple of quick thank yous before we get started with intros. I want to thank the leadership of Mayor Walsh. And for those that may understand the national context of education, not too many big city mayors are willing to put their capital in education, because education is messy. It is tough. It is complex. We have a mayor in the city that understands that if you do not get education right, the rest of the city does not work. So Mayor Walsh, I want to thank you for your leadership there. Today we will have an opportunity to hear from some young people. And these are young people who are on their pathway, probably a little further down their pathway from cradle to career. And our work as educators should not be just about getting our young people to graduate from high school. If we said to you, all we care about is getting you through high school and you're on your own after that, are we really doing our job as adults? The answer to that hopefully is a no. It should be about getting our young people to careers. It is about getting our young people to be able to have the skills, the competencies to participate in the middle class in America, right? And so, at least middle class in America. So, today we'll hear from some young people. Young people, you guys you inspire us. You are the reason why we do the work. I've had an opportunity to meet some of them earlier this morning. And one I know a little bit more because we're doing some deep work, and with Greg here, we're doing some deep work in supporting BPS alumni who want to be teachers. I'm going to turn it over to all of you. I'm going to ask each of you to quickly introduce yourselves, explain where you are in your path to your careers, and then we have a series of questions, and not everybody will have an opportunity to answer every question, but I'm going to try to get through as many questions as possible. So why don't we get started? I believe, is Amanda, right? Amanda, why don't you get started and we'll go all the way down.
Just going to move this closer. Hi, so my name is Amanda Shabowich. I went to Boston Latin School for till 11th grade, and then I transferred to Boston Day and Evening Academy, where I graduated in 2012. And now I currently work as part of the member of the Opportunity Youth Collaborative, the Youth Voice Project Coordinator, and I'm the Program Assistant for Boston Youth Service Network.
I'm probably the youngest one here today. I'm still a senior in high school. My name is Alexis Livingston. I attend Cathedral High School. I currently live in Brockton. I have a job at TJ Maxx, and I am the president of my student government.
Is this one on? Hello? Nope? Okay. I'll just take this. All right, hi. My name's Gray Kia Harris. It's gray like the color, Kia like the car. That's just so you remember.
That was actually for me.
Yeah. So I just graduated Northeastern. Yay. I went to Dorchester Academy for Boston Public High School, and currently I'm a ISEE teacher at the Kwang Khao Chinese School, which is like an after-school program that their parents pay a tuition for.
My name is Katriana Tovar. I went to Odyssey High School and it switched to Boston Green Academy till 11th grade. Then I transferred to Boston Day and Evening Academy. I'm a peer leader at the Youth Voice Project and I currently go to Bunker Hill, and I plan to go to Mass Art.
Mic technical difficulties, but I'm Francesca Russo. I actually went to Boston Collegiate Charter School, and I graduated in 2012, and then went to Bunker Hill, and now I'm at UMass Boston, and I'm looking forward to going to Suffolk or Northeastern within a year for law school.
So in Boston, we're working to improve the way we are preparing young people, not just to graduate from high school, but to prepare them for life after high school. Given your experiences, what advice would you give to us as we think about how we expose young people to careers they might so choose in the future?
So one way that I got exposed to the career path that I'm on now is that at Boston Day and Evening Academy, after you graduate, I was offered the chance to be a teacher's assistant as part of a paid internship. And then I kind of hung around and volunteered until they offered me another position in the postgraduate planning office. So I was able to help young people in that transition from high school to college or whatever post-secondary path they chose. And from there, I realized that I really liked working with young people. So I was able to be exposed to other local nonprofits and community-based organizations at DSNAC. So that's how I kind of got on my career path. So I think that would be nice.
Okay. Well, my experience is a little bit different. I personally don't think my school helped me with that. At first, my entire life, I wanted to become a veterinarian, and then I got to college, and I realized they don't have it where I went. And then I was in bio and environmental science, and I switched a lot until I finally figured out what I want my career path to be. So I don't think my school opened me to seeing teacher or a teacher as a valuable career path, and I don't think most schools actually show other jobs as a successful career path. It's kind of like the straight doctor, lawyer. There's certain things that we know are successful careers, and then other ones are not advertised as that. So I think a piece of advice would be for schools to advertise more career options and advertise them as successful careers.
Let me ask a quick follow-up question. Any of you have, when you were in high school, any of you have a summer opportunity? And did that have an influence on you?
Actually, for my school, they brought us to different colleges. We were able to take a summer program and visit 5 to 7 different colleges in a different state, in New York, in Boston, or around Boston. So that was actually really helpful to try out different types of colleges. And although I will agree that they didn't really show a lot of career paths that weren't money makers almost, that weren't the lawyers or the doctors, and definitely not trade schools. It was not really pushed or showed at all.
Still being in high school, actually I had the opportunity to have an internship with Fidelity Investments. We also offer an internship with Wilmer Hale, and now we offer an internship with Bank of America. I believe my school did prepare us well and expose us well with other careers, because they allowed us to explore different fields. For example, I take an anatomy class, and we were able to take a visit to Harvard Medical School and Tufts University to work on sutures and different things like that. Like, we got the business perspective and we have the nursing perspective. Yes, we could explore other careers that are still out there now, but I believe that my school has prepared all of us, not all of us, but most of us, for the future.
So what I'm really hearing is that learning doesn't only occur in schools. There's learning going on beyond school hours, and our summer, we really should be thinking about our summer as extension of the school year. It's important, right? I'm just kind of curious for all adults in the room, just think back to your own lives. How many of you were influenced to do what you are doing now because of a summer job or a job you had after school, like an experience outside of school influenced who you are today? Raise your hand. There we have it. Let's go to question number 2. What sort of skills and attitudes do you think would have been, or what type of skills and attitudes are most helpful to you to be successful after high school? And what sort of programming in high school would you have liked to have seen that would have better prepared you for life outside of high school? So this is a question for, I think, for you maybe.
Yeah.
So I think time management and figuring out how to work a schedule is definitely something I should have known before this year. I definitely didn't think much of it in high school, and I wish I had been taught how to regulate my time in high school, because then I would have been able to use it out of high school, and it's something that I pretty much taught myself. And I think if at day and evening we have advisories, and fortunately they teach us some skills like resumes and stuff like that, but if there was a seminar for time management and stuff like that, I think that would have been a great asset to me as a student.
I'll go. Sorry. So a thing that I think would be helpful, well, would have been helpful, was stress management. Because a lot of time, I don't know, like high school was like, it was okay stressful, but then I got to college and it was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. And then, you know, now I'm in the real world and I'm like, I'm really gonna die. So I just wish that was something that I kind of learned ahead of time. So now I'm more so learning how to manage stress and kind of deal with crunch time more than I was before. I think another thing that students should learn head on is how to be confident, because it was like when I hit my senior year of high school, that's kind of when I became confident in myself. But it really wasn't until I hit my 4th year of college that I became confident in my intelligence. And I think that's something that a lot of people kind of get stuck on, especially when they hit college and they're like from BPS or from somewhere that is like an urban school and you feel like you're kind of behind everyone else. I know the entire time I was in college, I felt behind everyone else. And I kept saying, man, I don't think I'm smart enough. And I kept saying, oh, I have to work harder to do this. And oftentimes I felt like I was working 3 times harder to do stuff that other people were getting done the same day. And so I feel like once you help students learn to be confident in their skills and ability and also their intelligence, like early on, they'll be able to maintain that kind of mindset throughout and be successful.
Maybe do a little bit of leading. Could any one of you make a comment about relationship building, how you develop networks? Is that a skill you feel is important and necessary? How does that play out in your lives?
It's definitely important. You need networking. You need to be able to talk with people in the room and to set up future meetings so that way you can get ahead in whatever you're doing. And I do feel like my school was actually really good at doing that. They exposed us to different types of people, different types of colleges, and be able to work a room. And they definitely, for the question for skills, I just wanted to say, I was lucky enough to go to a school that I wasn't thankful then, but they gave you a lot of work. And it seemed like a lot, but the critical analysis was able to get me through college, and I had that confidence a little bit. So I just want to say, for the charter school I went to, it did a great job at preparing you, over-preparing you, I thought, to be honest, for the work you needed to do.
Okay, we have time for one more question. And the question is, who in your school was the most helpful in preparing you to transition out of high school? Or who in your school is preparing you?
Okay, so I can't say one person because I feel because the school that I go to, Cathedral High School, I believe my whole school is probably the best bet to say that they prepared me, or is preparing me, should I say. I've gone through a lot in the past couple years, and I feel like I fell off because of what happened to me. So I feel like having them behind me, beside me, and always with me encouraged me to go further and further and further and better myself. You know, like it's more of a personal thing, but I feel if I didn't go to Cathedral, if I did go to another school, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I feel like relationships is probably the best thing that you can have in order to be successful.
Thank you for sharing.
So at Boston Day and Evening Academy, we don't have guidance counselors, we have student support teams, and then we have an entire office devoted to postgraduate planning. So I feel like every single person in that office made it feel very welcome for young people to be able to come in where they're at and develop a post-secondary plan. And like to the point that I'm still very good friends with the postgraduate planning team, and like I spent my birthday with them because those relationships were so important to me, and now we are in meetings and conferences together, so it's been very nice to build that relationship over time and see it continue in my like work life.
Take one more.
Oh, okay. No. So the people who helped me when I was in high school were actually my teachers, and half of them weren't my actual teachers. I just went to their classroom. But those were the people who helped me the most, and I think that's why, like, currently now I'm in the mode like, oh, I want to be an educator. I want to be someone who kind of connects with people past the papers, past the assignments, but kind of empower students. I think teachers do a really good job of making students great and making them comfortable with themselves, comfortable with the material that they're learning with, and comfortable with the world that they're working in. So it was my teachers, specifically my English teachers, but you know, because I'm an English major, just to let you know.
Well, it's affirming to hear that there are supportive adults in their lives, and affirming to hear that they have made a difference in their lives. And actually, it's a data point we actually track in GPS. What % of students feel like they have a caring adult in their high schools that they can go to in time of need? And research is very clear how important that is. So, ladies, thank you for contributing. Turn it back to
I'm just gonna stay here.
Join me again in thanking a phenomenal panel. All their pathways have been linear by any means, but boy, they're really hit on all cylinders now. They give us a lot of hope for the future and for the present. Right now, we're going to ask that our next set of panelists would begin to come forward. And we want to welcome the moderator for that group, Shannon Barone, who is the head of school at Boston Collegiate Public Charter School. We take a moment also again to thank the mayor, who absolutely didn't want to miss the youth panel, and would love to stay for this one, but he does have to run the city. So he's going to be slipping out. Our thanks again to Mayor Marge Walsh. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Mayor Walsh, for your support of all the children of Boston. We in the charter sector know that you feel like our students are your students, too. I am Shauna, the Executive Director of Boston Collegiate Charter School. I chair the Boston Charter Alliance. Hello to all of you. And I have the distinct pleasure of hosting a panel of superstars in school leadership. And so I'm just going to jump right in, because I know we need to end promptly at 10:30. And so I'm just going to go down the line and ask folks to introduce themselves and just tell us a little bit about your school, and primarily, what is the main thing that accounts for your success? We have folks from many different sectors here, but if you could name your like one secret sauce item, what is it? So name, the school you represent, and what is your secret sauce?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Oscar Santos. I'm the headmaster at Cathedral High School. For those of you who don't know Cathedral High School, it's an urban independent philanthropy-based Catholic school, and the majority of our students, actually 100% of our students, are on financial assistance. 88% of our kids are on free and reduced lunch. 86% come from the city of Boston. 60% come from single-parent homes, and 52% English is not the first language at home. What I'm most proud of the school is the resilience that our students have. I think Alexis represented that well. For the last 13 years, 100% of our students have graduated, 100% go to college, and for the last 4 years, we've been tracking their college retention, and it's up to 90%. Students stay with us. They stay with us for 97%. That's our retention rate. And I would say that 3 things make our school really special. It's kind of hard to narrow it down to 3, but first and foremost, I would say the genuine care that students provide for each other and the support that they provide. Secondly, as a philanthropy-based school, we have an amazing board of trustees who really make it possible for our students to have a great education. And last but not least, I would say the approach that we take to educating our students is personalized learning. And what I mean by that is that we create a personal plan for every individual student. We check in with them. They make their own goals every trimester. We work with them when students have challenges. We provide what I would say, I think Mayor Walsh explained it well, wraparound services to make sure that we meet students where they are and make sure that they don't fall, and that we really provide a safety net for them, and the students do that too. So that's what makes our school special.
I don't know if that one's working.
Here you go, Tony.
Bienvenidos, hola a todos. Me llamo Dania Vázquez. I had to do that. I am the headmaster of the Margarita Muñiz Academy, the first and only dual language high school, public high school in the New England region. And we are in our 5th year. We had our first graduating class last year. And of our graduates, about 85%, well, all of them were accepted into some college. But about 85% took the leap to really take that walk down to college. There were some who decided to make some different choices. I think a little bit of our school, we have a very diverse population. Our students come to us by way of the Boston Public School Lottery. They are assigned to us. And we have what I like to call a beautiful matrix of students. 80% of our students are English language learners on a range from either just arriving to the country to having crossed that threshold of no longer being called officially English language learners, right? And we have kids who are learning English for the first time, and we have kids who are learning Spanish for the first time. Even though the majority of our students are Latino, there are 3rd and 4th generation Latino students who are learning Spanish. And so it makes for a really interesting mix. We represent 11 countries across the spectrum, and I think that's important too, because as a school that's predominantly Latino, people say, oh, they're all the same, and they're actually not. We really have a real diversity of culture and even of language. We also have on the other side a real range of kids that come to our school in terms of skill set, the gamut. And so we work with all of the students that come to us. I think the only thing that we ask our students and families when they join us is that they have to want to be there, and that they know they're going to be learning in English and Spanish, all subjects, no matter what your level is. And so right away you're walking in the door, and it's pretty rigorous. So when we have 9th graders in September go, you're kidding, he's doing physics, Mrs. Spanish. Is he really going to keep doing that? I go, uh-huh. You go, oh my God. And so there's a sense of rigor, and there's a sense of, I think we'll go to our secret sauce. And there are many secret sauces that kind of blend together. I like to say that we ask our students and families to bring all of themselves in the door and not leave any part of them. And so kids who walk in and say, we don't get this too much now, but in the beginning when we first opened the school a few short years ago, kids would say, you sure we can speak in Spanish? And I'm saying, yeah, it's really okay. And so we want them to bring all of themselves in, and that's really important to acknowledge the whole person and what they bring. Having a really strong vision, and one that we keep revisiting, every year, twice a year, 3 times a year, to make sure that we're all in this together. We're clear about where we're going, and asking ourselves if we're actually meeting our vision is really important. Building a really strong culture, a culture where there are a lot of relationships. I think almost every senior has come back this year, and not once, but multiple times. And I have some who refuse to. He just comes every day. I said, I'm just going to do your job. It's really quite okay. But really a culture of real caring and commitment to each other. So I think that's the other thing that I would say, sort of a real commitment to the work, and really having a great staff. That's willing to do crazy stuff to get kids to school and stay in school and think out of the box. And when we're stuck, we go, okay, let's plan 153 because the other ones didn't work. Let's go. And I think that's really important because the work of schools, whether it's elementary, middle, or high school, is really hard, and we don't always have the right answer at the moment. So really a deep sense of commitment.
Good morning. My name is Katie Grassa. I'm the proud school principal of the Curly K-8 in Jamaica Plain, and we serve 961 students from age 3, K0, through the 8th grade. I would say that our secret sauce builds upon what the previous 2 headmasters said, is about caring. We have 3 common expectations: that we care about ourselves, we care about each other, we care about our school. And we have a foundation of all of the work that we do comes back to those 3 expectations. So whether we're talking about equity or race or including students, it all comes back to those expectations and is what helps us move forward as a community.
Hi, I'm John Clark. I'm the co-director of Brook Charter Schools. We have 3 K-8 schools in Boston and just opened a high school. To whatever extent we've had success, it's been because we've been able to develop a culture that reveres teaching, that has a really rigorous notion of what great teaching looks like, and everything we do every single day is about going after that vision. And I will say it's still the most exciting part of the work, is figuring out how to do that better.
Thank you all. So we're going to jump to strategies to improve learning outcomes. So one of the things in the report that we know, and is the reality that you see every day, is that we struggle as a city to make the impact that we need with certain subgroups of students, namely students with disabilities, English language learners, and boys, and particularly boys of color. So I'd love for each of you to articulate one strategy that you know is working in your school. So the kind of thing where you walk into the classroom, you see it, and you're like, yes, this is what we need to be doing more of this. So if you could even help us visualize what that strategy is and what it looks like, and just pick one subgroup that you're particularly proud of, that'd be great.
Well, I'll get started with that. Since predominantly our school is working with English language learners of all levels, I think if you walk into any one classroom, and we don't really have a map of how you do a dual language high school, right? It's a really innovative kind of thing we're trying to figure out. And we're really trying to be true to using both languages. And if you walk into any classroom, you're going to see a real comfort level in using both languages, as well as a real expectation that you're going to be able to speak in both languages proficiently and work in both languages proficiently, have a high literacy. And yet we have a way of having kids feel that they can access the content, especially in math and science. So if you walk into our humanities English class, it's in English. If you walk into the humanities Spanish class, it's in Spanish. But in math and science and the arts, you're going to see sort of this walk across a bridge, back and forth. Too complicated to explain all the theory behind that, but kids really feel they can access the content, that they can continue to learn, whether their dominant language is English or their dominant language is Spanish. And so their learning isn't stopped. And so right away that kicks in an expectation that we've removed an obstacle that maybe in other situations you feel. The other thing that being a dual language high school, and I really had to learn this, even though I've been a bilingual educator my entire 37 years of an educator, is that really being a dual language high school, it's about language and all that stuff. It's about that. But it's more so about identity and about really bringing out a comfort in students of who they are, embracing who they are as young people fully. And so, a lot of kids come in. One of our wonderful students talked about gaining confidence of self. It's not just confidence around your academic life, but confidence about who you are as a citizen, as a person. And certainly in our current political situation, our kids are really feeling it, and they know that it's safe haven in our school to be recognized, to be embraced as an immigrant, as an English language learner or not an English language learner, that you have a different perspective, that you may not agree. And I think that's because once you open the door to learning in two languages, I think you open the door to different perspectives right away. You open the door to high expectations right away. And so I think that dual language is more than just the academic piece. It's really about how do you create citizen leaders that have a broad perspective.
Thank you. Other strategies?
So one strategy we've been working on this year is we've been doing some training around universal design for learning, and one particular engagement strategy is around choice. So choice for students either in elective courses that they'll take or choice in seating. We have some students who might be sitting at a bike desk or in a beanbag chair or at a regular desk, but trying to find more ways to incorporate choice throughout the day for our students.
I would say the approach and the strategy that has been most effective for us has been differentiation. And what I mean by that is that, as all of us know, not everybody learns the same. But one of the great things, our school is a grade 7 through 12 school, and one of the things that's most powerful about learning is that kids learn more when they're able to teach each other. And part of our approach in terms of the differentiated instruction process is to make sure that students are actively engaged in learning and that they teach and share with each other. And that's the most powerful tool, because the classroom really belongs to the students, and the more opportunities they have to share their thinking and their strategies and the approaches, the better off and the more purposeful and powerful the learning is for the students. So that's the key strategy: collaboration and differentiation for us.
Shauna, as you know, this question is hard for me. It really, and I'm going to sound like a one note, and you start skipping me every time I'm going to say it's about great teaching, and that's required. I mean, if we really revere teaching and how hard it is to make sure that every one of our kids is challenged and known and supported, every decision has to come back to how do we create a culture where we get the fantastic people and are helping them develop and get better every day. I think I paraphrased Jeffrey Canada, who I saw speak one time, and said, we know how important great teaching is for all of our kids, but when we're serving kids who haven't had access to wealth and privilege, the stakes are higher. And it just, everything we do has to come back to thinking about how we can create those kinds of, cultures and spaces.
So the last set of questions is about the two sides of the coin that we talked about in the report. So first, kindergarten readiness, and then high school completion and post-secondary success. So I want to focus first on kindergarten readiness. We have two people here who see little guys walk into their buildings every year, and you must see difference in terms of kindergarten preparedness. So I'm eager to hear from you, Katie and John, what is different about those students who are prepared or not prepared for kindergarten? And what do you do to remediate those who are not prepared? And what should the rest of the city be doing differently to ensure that all students are prepared for kindergarten?
Sure. It's a good, I actually don't know well enough what we should be doing to make sure that all of our kids are prepared for kindergarten. We operate from the default assumption that they're not going to be prepared coming in for whatever, all the reasons are to go into that. So, but I think it's about creating the opportunity and the space for each teacher to actually own the achievement of each of their kids and to be successful. So for us in kindergarten, it means class size is going to be 15. It's also a culture of knowing that you are going to have some really struggling learners, and the most, the best value of your time day to day can be supporting those kids and making sure that you're holding yourself accountable that all of your kids are going to learn to read by the end of kindergarten.
I personally believe that all of our students come in with strengths when they arrive in kindergarten. It might be social emotional, it might be more academic, it might be more about play and relationships. And then we try to capitalize upon those strengths and really sort of assess where they're at. I think oral language development is very important, and we try to have conferences and communication with families where there are activities and games and things they can do at home with their child. Or get them involved in the after-school program, so we have more opportunities for students to be involved. But in our earliest grades, play is so important. Like some of us may think play is something kids do, but you actually learn how to play. You learn how to work with others, and it's a very important skill that we teach our students how to do, and that having the most skilled teachers in early childhood is essential in assuring that there will be success for all those students moving forward.
So now the other side of the coin, which is high school completion and post-secondary success. So for those of you who have 12th grade and have sent some kids off to college and beyond, I'm eager to hear, we saw from the report that as a city we've had some success in that area. So I'm eager to hear, what is your relationship between your school and the rest of the city's networks in terms of leveraging what we have to ensure that success? And what specifically are you doing to make sure that your students are as successful as some of the young people we heard from before?
Sure. First of all, I think that one of the main reasons why we're seeing such an uptick in the high school retention and students doing well is because we need to believe in young people, and they understand that this is their opportunity to be successful. I was a principal in Boston, I was a teacher in Boston, and throughout my entire career, all I've noticed is kids who really do want to succeed. And what I've been noticing that has been really powerful is that kids are learning much more just outside of school. The opportunities to have jobs outside of school, to have extended learning opportunities, to have internships, all those major exposure points are helping students to really excel and push themselves to envision themselves doing better. In terms of concrete strategies that we're doing, I spoke a little bit about it, but one of the things that's critical for us is having personalized plans with the students so that they can have reflections with their parents and with their families about what they're interested in doing. And part of our approach is to provide opportunities for the students to have those learning experiences. Some kids may want to go into law, so you have a law and justice class. Some students want to go into medicine, so you provide those opportunities early on. I would say that that's the key piece of great high school education, to provide kids with exposure so that when they get to college, they're more college ready versus college prep. The academic stuff is absolutely critical, as you mentioned, John, but the confidence piece in giving students the exposure to opportunities, I think, is critical. And last but not least, just on the elementary piece, I think that Mayor Walsh said it best. It is a pre-K through 12 or pre-K through 16 opportunity. And for the early years, all of us know that economics are one of the key indicators for high literacy. The second one, which a lot of people don't know, is having books in your home. So that's an easy fix that we could do for any families in providing more opportunities. Once there's more literacy in the classroom or in the school or at home, that really multiplies and supports that type of learning.
Most of our, 95% of our kids have first generation college going in their family. And so what we've learned in our first year, our first cohort of graduates is that we really need to do wraparound support, not just to get them to college, but to help them stay in college. So we're trying to build an infrastructure that really is 9-16. And when I was, sort of, to have joking, in a friendly way about our kids coming back, we want them to come back. And we are actually actively pursuing, tracking them down and making sure that they have supports, whether they chose to go to college or not, or they're in between. We pretty much know what all of them are doing. And I think it's incredibly important to provide that kind of support to kids who are first generation. We have a very wide variety of students across schools. Some of our schools, or some kids, certain communities, colleges, their families, that's a given, but that's not true in all of our schools and all of our communities. And so we can do a lot of the academic preparation, and I think it's really scary. I mean, I know I was kind of scared. I was the first generation in my family to go to college, and I didn't know what I was doing when I went to NYU. My mother couldn't help me. She couldn't answer those questions. And so I really deeply understand that dilemma of needing that extra support. I've had a couple of kids come back, and we have our school values, and one of them is advocacy. We want kids to learn how to self-advocate, and we were just chatting for a minute in the hallway, and he says, Dr. D, those raíces, we call them raíces, they really work. And I was like, really, they do? He goes, tell me more. He goes, advocacy. He says, you really got to teach the kids how to advocate. Keep doing that. And that was really eye-opening, that, because you never know until they come back and tell you if it's working, And he really confirmed and affirmed that. And the other thing that interestingly enough, that our kids have said to us coming back, our alumni, is don't hold our hands so much, be tougher on us. And I can't be so more tough on you than I am already. You weren't too happy with me last year. And they said, yeah, but the teachers call us to wake us up and get to school, and you're chasing kids down the hallway with your computer, making sure they know their stats, and everybody's there with us all the time. And we get to college, and that's not there. And so that's a real dilemma, right? Because we're right there with them, this wraparound thing, and then when they get to college, it's like, oops, there's nobody there. And so that's a dilemma that we need to figure out, because our first generation college-going kids have a really different and unique path and a different set of needs than maybe other kids that college is a given for.
Thank you all so much. I know how precious the time of the school leader is, and so for you to come and share your insights at this moment as we all try to understand how to be better as a city for our kids is very valuable, so I'm very grateful. Thank you all so much.
Thanks again to all of our panelists, to all of you for being here. We are coming down to the close of this season, but as we depart, I hope that we can all see the stats, get a sense of the areas that we really need to work on, and bring to it a sense of just how important this is, what is at stake. I know all of you know it. It's been brought home to me, as I've said before, because I'm reminded of just how personal this really is. I'm reminded I'm the son of parents, one of whom raised in a segregated South, managed to get access to private, parochial, and public educational resources that transformed their lives, the lives of their children, the lives of their grandchildren, and the life of their great-grandchild. I'm reminded that I have a mother who worked all of her working life with children in the public schools of Boston. I've had the privilege of being the father of a daughter who is a former teacher in the Newcomers Academy of Boston Public Schools and is now currently teaching English in the American School of Kinshasa in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's also really personal. I went back home recently and walked back through my neighborhood, and all kinds of names floated back. Mrs. Sabati, and Mr. Finkelstein, and Mrs. Shepard, and Mr. Malloy. The teachers have had an incredible impact, along with my parents, really opened a whole new world to me, who made me think about and dream of things that kids where I grew up were not supposed to think about and not dream of. And that's really the challenge that we have here in the city of Boston. If we don't pull it off, we face the other meeting I have to go to tonight, where 800 people are going to get together along with the Senate President Stan Rosenberg, Chief Justice Ralph Gans, to talk about how we fix our criminal justice system. I've got to think over and over again of how there might have been a different story written for those on whose behalf we're advocating. If families, if churches, if schools, if our city had been able somehow to put together a different pathway, one that would have gotten them and kept them in the educational pipeline and off the street pipeline. Well, that's the challenge that we all have. And I want to thank each and every one of you for doing that day in and day out, for making it so much more than a job, for making it personal, for making it passionate. And I pray that together we can infect our family, our neighbors, our colleagues, our friends with that same personal and passionate commitment to educating every child. That's what we've got to do. Together we're going to get the job done. Thank you.